Welcome back to Curiosity Class, the podcast where we break down complex topics into easy to understand ideas and bite-sized pieces. My name is Jeff Album, and I've been a curious person my entire life. Inspired by Albert Einstein's quote, "If you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough," we aim to make learning accessible and engaging. On this show, we're going to bring you experts from various fields, ranging from personal finance to physics, to help you understand everything from 401ks to how airplanes fly. So let's dive in and satisfy our curiosity together. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Curiosity Class. I am super honored to have my good friend and mentor, Ben Kogut, here. Ben is the founder and CEO of Rooster Equity here in Austin, Texas, and I can't wait to chat with him about all things commercial real estate. So, Ben, thanks so much for being on here, man.
Hey, it's a pleasure, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Totally. So, I know you, obviously. For those of you who don't know you, who are you? Where'd you come from? What are you doing? And how did you end up in the shoes that you're in?
Yeah, so professionally, I think is what we're talking about. I came to Austin in 2000 to go to UT, graduated in '04, and had some great mentors who were in the commercial real estate business. And that is the path I've been on ever since. So I've been in the commercial real estate space for over 20 years. I've been blessed to be in this niche called triple net. So think shopping centers, industrial buildings, medical buildings. We could talk more about that. But I started as a broker. I was helping people buy and sell shopping centers around Texas. And then I went back to school and got an MBA around 2010 and 11. That kind of changed me on another trajectory. I really wanted to start my own company eventually, and so getting an MBA kind of helped me learn more about business and but also to live a life of meaning. That's also something we should talk about. And then yeah, I went to work for a family office here in town that owns a bunch of real estate, and then I started investing personally with some of the money I made in commissions. I started investing in shopping centers as a passive investor. So I would put like 50 grand into a project and let someone else manage it, and I would just get my dividends off of those projects. And that really kind of turned a light on in my head about the idea of passive income and being involved as an investor in projects and try to create financial freedom, which a lot of people talk about. And so that's really been one of my top goals for a long time. So I started investing in 2017. Then in 2019, I got recruited to join a syndication company based in Wichita. I stayed here in Austin and focused on raising capital, leveraging the relationships that I've built throughout the last, throughout my whole life, but especially the last 20 years being in the business. And then, yeah, raised about $110 million from about 200 people from 2017 till 22. And then that was during the pandemic. That was interesting times. And then it was time for me to start my own thing. So I started Rooster Equity in 23. Took a little hiatus in between, and then yeah, we've been growing. I got 5 people on the team. We're doing acquisitions. We're doing some development. We're growing. So it's been a lot of fun, and we can take this conversation any different direction you want to go with it.
Dude, I feel like I could ask you 1,000 questions based on what you just said. So, yeah, that's amazing, man. So first off, congratulations on all the success. It sounds like, from anyone listening, you do a lot, and it sounds like you're crushing it in all aspects. So congratulations for that, and hope it continues. Um,
Thank you.
I would love to learn just a little bit more about kind of in your past when you were talking about, okay, I worked as a broker, so you were buying and selling for other people. And I always find it interesting that brokers don't always necessarily invest, right? And so I'd love to learn a little bit about the psychology. I'm sure it's, you need to be able to be a good broker to get commissions to be able to invest is part of it, probably. But what do you think that disconnect is between you're buying and selling the dream, so to speak, yet you're not participating? Why do you think there's that big disconnect?
I think it's a mental. It's all everything's mental. So putting money into a project. I don't know. I think that once, for me, once I did it for the first time and realized the beauty of having income coming into my account, whether I worked or not, I mean, that was really a game changer. That really is what I teach a lot of people about. And it's also to answer your question, I don't know. I mean, I can't really answer it for other people why they haven't, but I can tell you that once I did it, I've now invested in 37 different, commercial real estate projects personally, and I've helped hundreds of people invest. And really, I've had a lot of people tell me how much I've changed their life, literally, by educating them on how to invest, how to also be tax efficient. I think that's also a subject that a lot of people aren't as familiar with, because that phrase, it's not what you make, it's what you keep,
Hmm.
is really underrated. I think it's something that we need to be educating people about. And so why don't brokers invest? I don't know, but if I was I think a lot of people think like Bitcoin or the stock market, or I mean, really an infinite number of places for somebody to put their money. Commercial real estate is just one of them, but it's something that I've studied and I've seen a lot of. I mean, it's no secret that real estate investors, as a whole, generally are wealthier. So it attracts, some people that are more into that. It's an illiquid asset, meaning that, unlike in the stock market or Bitcoin, you can't just sell it at any, moment. So you have to be prepared and be in a financial position to be able to put that money into a project and just let it sit there, usually for years.
Hmm.
So again, that's a mentality. So that's my answer.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. So something else you touched on, you said you wanted to start your own company because you wanted to live a life of meaning.
Mm.
Let's dive in. Go. What
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not just about making money. It's about, for me, it's about making a positive, lasting impact in the community and being a positive, force for good for my partners, for my investors, for my tenants, for, everything that we get involved in. And I think this is also very, Jewish thought that's been ingrained with me. I grew up Jewish and being involved in the Jewish community, and I really believe that the more we give, the more we get back. And we don't give to get back, but we I believe in tikkun olam, and we I know you interviewed Rabbi Mendy, and this is really I grew up Jewish and I've been Jewish, but I would say like in the last like couple of years, the spirituality aspect of Judaism has really kind of touched me in a way that I did really like. I grew up with all the Jewish education, but until recently I didn't realize how much actual spirituality, the energy of money. I mean, it sounds a little woo-woo, but I really believe like that everything is energy, especially money.
Hmm.
And so um living a life of meaning is sort of encapsulating all of these things. Like I love what I do. I love giving back to and being involved in the community. I love helping other people and trying to, put them in a position where they can make more money so that they can give back more to the community or whatever it is that they're passionate about. Um, I I will say, since I haven't really talked about this too much, but life of meaning. What one of my mentors, one of my teachers, um, taught me that you should, if you can, put yourself in a position where you can. Can I curse on this?
Yeah.
If you're asked to do something that is against your morals and ethics, you want to be able to say "F you"
Hmm.
and no, or quit your job or move on. And so I've been put in that position, and because I took the time to think through what it is for me personally to have a life of meaning, and what it means for me to to say F you, no, I'm not going to do that. I morally think that's wrong, or whatever the reason is. I thought through that back in 2010 and 11 when I was in school, and got really clear on what my personal, you know, borders are, what I'm not willing to cross. And I was put in a position where I was asked to cross those lines. And I lost some sleep over it. I really didn't know what to do. And then I realized that I had already made the decision that if I was put into a position where I didn't, was going to cross a personal boundary, that I wouldn't do it. And for me, I was asked to raise capital for a project that I didn't believe in.
Hmm.
And so I slept on it and then realized I already knew the answer. And I went back and said, no, I'm not going to tell somebody to invest in this project. I wouldn't, I invest in all the deals that I raise in. And so I wouldn't ask someone else to put money into a project that I wouldn't personally invest in. And so, um, I was really agonizing about that decision, because it ended up, me leaving a job and a position that I loved. And ultimately, again, I think there's some spirituality to this, that like it led to me being able to start Rooster Equity and really create my own company, which was really what my goal was this entire time. So, um, it's those weird moments where even like the really hard, bad things that happen to us in life, you give it some time and you realize that it was God's plan and it was all for the best.
Dang. So I guess that answers the question. Like I was going to ask you, it sounds like everything you're saying, like life of meaning and helping people, you can do that whether you have your own company or not. But it sounds like the impetus to form your own company was because of these, the ability to say "f you," no, I'm not going to cross that line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Gotcha.
was yeah, so it's always for the best. You might not see it at that point in time, but give it some time and you realize that it's all good.
So okay, perfect segue into, dude, starting a business is hard. it's
Yes.
it's a lot of it's a lot different going from, I don't know if you were W-2 or 1099 before, but like having a steady paycheck and presumably a pretty cushy lifestyle, all of a sudden to being on your own, you still have bills to pay, you don't know where that next paycheck is coming from. Like how was that process? How was the first year for you?
Great question. I would say again, it's been a journey. I was able to invest in 30 plus real estate deals, each one paying me some amount of, preferred return. I usually get either a monthly check or quarterly checks, sometimes annual, but mostly that's how it goes. And so I had to kind of figure out, okay, how much money can I expect, is going to come in whether I work or not.
Hmm.
And then I had to figure out, okay, well, how much is my cost of living?
Hmm.
And how much is it going to be to start a business and hire people and, grow, keep investing into this company? And so I had to really cut back on my personal expenses. I had to structure um, my cash flow to be able. I just been reinvesting into the company and into my people for a few years now, and then as as we start doing deals and making money, trying to be really smart about how to allocate those funds into myself personally as well as into the business. Um, I'm somebody that I don't really like drive a fancy car or have a real fancy house or really like that's just like who I am. And I think it, and like no, to each their own, but it's just, when you're in your own business, you really have to be mindful about how you spend your money and invest your money. And so, um, yeah, it's definitely been a journey. It's been stressful. It's been a roller coaster. and it's been awesome. And I choose this. I choose this. So it has gotten better and better and better. We've made some really good investments. I brought on like a really great team of people around me, and I think this year is probably going to be the best year yet. And I know for sure that next year is on track to, exceed the successes that we've had this year. So um, I've I will add one more thought to this, which is just like another lesson that I hope people understand is like, comparison. What do they say? Like comparison is like basically the devil. It's like
Yeah.
the enemy of happiness. And so I just, when I get tempted to compare myself to others, I have to kind of stop that and just compare myself to myself. And when I do that, I'm just like super proud and excited about what I've been able to accomplish, where I'm at now, and what I see coming down the pipeline for the next, 1 to 3 years.
Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. So
Thank you.
I want to ask you about hiring for a second. So like when did you make your first hire and like how did you structure that? Because and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about your business model in a second, but like you're starting this company, you're not making the company's not making an income, the company's not making revenue. Like how did you pay for your first hire?
So I um, I hired my childhood best friend as my
Okay.
first partner, and I don't want to get it's a little bit between us, but I will say that the way I structured it was in real estate, it's common to have a draw.
Hmm.
So that's how I started in the business, and that's basically like I make payments, and then as we make money, it goes to reimburse what had gone out. So basically, like prepaying commissions and
Okay.
structuring it a way where he would get, percentages of the commissions that are earned. And then, but I was funding that out of my pocket. So I did have the funds to be able to do that. And then my next hire was a virtual assistant. So I hired somebody to help me with marketing, just to kind of like with scheduling and with just a bunch of tasks. I read that Tim Ferriss book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and so really tried to implement some of those ideas. I now have three virtual assistants that do different things for me. And then I hired another friend shortly thereafter who is helping me with acquisitions and with raising capital and with just kind of like a thinking partner. And with like also, we're working on company culture. So he's brought a lot to the table in regards to that. And so, yeah, that's how we've been able to grow the team.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. So okay, now let's dive in a little bit to like what the heck is triple net lease? Maybe if you've
Okay.
seen something on a flyer, it's NNN, three N's.
hmm
So what is that? Why is that its own thing? Why does that interest you?
Yeah, so triple net is literally means the net, meaning the net of the taxes, the insurance, and maintenance costs.
Okay.
So think about where you live. Maybe there's an HEB, there's a Whataburger, there's a Bank of America, there's, Chipotle or whatever. So those tenants are typically in it's very typical in our industry. They sign a lease where they pay the landlord rent, and then they pay their taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs.
They being the
So
landlords.
the tenant pays those expenses.
Right, but they pay the landlord's costs,
Yes, yeah,
right?
they'll pay the costs to insure the building, the property taxes, and the landscaping or the lights or the whatever maintenance needs to happen on that property. The tenants are responsible for that expense.
Okay.
So as a landlord, it doesn't really impact my bottom line when the taxes go up, which is very different. So I know I have some friends, I know a lot of people that have made a lot of money in the apartment business or in the residential home business, which is also a great business, just different. And think about it, like if you live in an apartment, you pay your landlord, let's say $2,000 a month, and that's it. Like you're not, and you pay your utility bill, but you don't know what your proportionate share of the taxes or what your insurance or what it costs for them to maintain the apartment complex. You just write your $2,000 a month check, and the rest is up to the landlord. So this kind of separates that. If you were to write a check to your landlord for $1,000 a month and then paid $500 in taxes and $250 in insurance and $250 in maintenance, it would be the same number, but it's just broken out differently. And as taxes go up and insurance goes, so it's just like it's just a different way. The reason why we have to do this in commercial is because we usually will sign 10 to 20-year leases, and so it helps it to, for me as a landlord, when we invest. So, for example, we bought a industrial building in San Antonio this year, and it's got think like Caliber Collision kind of tenant, collision
Okay.
repair place, and they signed a 12-year lease where they pay X number of dollars of rent. The rent goes up, I think, 2 or 3% every year. So slowly, kind of keeping up with inflation. And then the tenant will pay the taxes, insurance, and maintenance. So as a landlord, I know pretty much to the penny what my cash flow is going to look like for the next 12 years.
Right.
So it really, risk is something that is like the way we look at risk is like we want to be able to calculate the risk as much as possible, or mitigate any unknowns. And so if we know that we're not responsible for the taxes, insurance, and maintenance, then that goes away. And we really just have to focus on, is this tenant strong enough? Do they have enough business to be able to pay the rent, to be able to afford the triple nets? And if the answer is yes, and if we buy it at a price that is low enough for us, we like to be able to pay our investors an 8% preferred return on a monthly basis.
Okay.
So if we can buy something with like a 10 or 12% annual type of return, we can pretty easily calculate that we can afford to pay the investors 8, and then usually we'll split what's left. So if it's 12% returns, the first 8 go to the investors. That leaves 4, and so we'll split that. So the investors will get 2, and we'll get 2, and so they'll end up with 10% of their money, and we'll get 2.
Got it.
So that's kind of how we structure these things.
Got it. And do you want to just define preferred return? I know you kind of just did, but like, what does that mean?
Uh, Preferred return is, I don't know the definition per se, but it's kind of like, almost looks and feels like an interest rate.
Okay.
It's not an interest rate, but it's like almost like an IOU. So like I'll help you with the math. So if someone made a $100,000 investment into that project, the 8% preferred return would be 8% of 100, so that's 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's on an annual basis, and it's paid monthly. So if you take 8,000, you divide that by 12, that's $667 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone that put in 100, they get $667 a month, and that's where the passive income
Sure.
part comes into this whole thing. So they're getting that money is sent directly into their account. And then on top of that, and I touched on this briefly, the tax benefits of owning commercial real estate are pretty meaningful as well. With the IRS allows you to depreciate, which is a fancy word for a tax write-off, the building, and now you can take instead of usually like you'll depreciate it over like a long, like 20, 30 year period of time. The government now allows you to take all that and condense it and take pretty much all of it into the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a pretty big tax savings on your tax returns. And that's, I like to think of that as like an interest-free loan from the government. You get to use that money and put it to work elsewhere.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like at a high level, the benefits of investing in commercial real estate.
Dude, and it's so interesting. Like I don't know, I'm a multifamily investor. I've done a couple single family homes, and triple net is always such a. It kind of feels like the city on a hill. You know, like you always see triple net investors, and you're like, dude, that sounds awesome. Like
Mm.
you don't have to deal with broken toilets and broken windows, and tenants not paying, and occupancy stuff. So it's always been super fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, not to say that it's not competitive because it definitely is, but I do think there's a lot less competition than residential or multifamily.
Right, right. Um, when you're thinking about kind of business planning for you, like how much do you anticipate like your revenues are going to be from monthly distributions, like monthly cash flows versus like because you also get paid on the sale, right? So once you do you buy the property, you have a business plan, you're going to like make it better, you're going to do some stuff to increase revenues or decrease expenses, and then you're going to sell it. How much of yeah, I guess how much do you think about like okay, your company needs to live off of the monthly revenues, and then all of the sales are gravy? Like, is that how you plan? Like, I'm always so curious how syndication companies operate.
Oh man, great question. So you're basically asking like how do I financially plan
Yeah,
with the business and with life? It's hard. It's lumpy. We do maybe 4 to 6 deals a year, which we're happy with. So there's big gaps of time in between when we make a commission and see, cash flow coming in.
right.
So um, I try to keep a cushion of money into a high interest savings account to kind of absorb the the downs part of the cycle and wait for the higher part, and then I use the monthly cash flow to I try to pretty much have that cover my personal expenses,
Okay.
and then the the business expenses, I basically just have like an account where I'm funding that out of pocket and as and just reimbursing myself once we get the deals done. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. I mean, especially when you go longer periods of time. I I kind of on that point, I have money sitting into a checking account. I have um, invested in a couple other things that have given me, they're kind of like my backup plan if I ever need access to cash.
Hmm.
And so one of those things is I've bought one of those insurance policies
Yeah, like the
where,
whole life thing, like the infinite
yeah,
banking. That
yes,
idea. Okay.
yeah. So I've bought into that, and it's now kind of built up over time where if I need cash within like a week, maybe less, maybe 5 days, I can borrow against that insurance policy to get cash. Now I have to pay, I think, 5 or 6% in interest on it,
But
but
you're
at
paying
least like
yourself, right?
if I need cash, I that's one place to get it. I also have a little bit of money in crypto that, if I needed to sell that, I could liquidate that pretty instantly.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of like the backup plan if I ever, because like sometimes I need cash to put down as earnest money or for due diligence on some different acquisitions. So I like to be able to have cash available to pursue different projects if needed.
Yeah.
So,
No, that makes
so,
sense. That makes sense.
mhm.
Okay. Well, dude, it sounds like, obviously we talked about it at the beginning. Like you do a lot. Like you got a lot going on. How do you structure your time? Like what does a typical day in the life look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm like a 6 a.m. get up kind of guy. I like to get the workouts done in the morning. I like to cold plunge in the morning. I got one at the house. Um, Every day's a little different. I have like a calendar that I write in every day. It's always kind of by my desk, and I have a calendar up on my one of my screens most of the time. It's really, bouncing back and forth between, working on the deals. We're negotiating a bunch of stuff right now. Man, every day is a little bit different. I would say this is probably one area that I have a lot of room to improve. I think that I used to do better about time blocking, and I haven't. I have not done a great job of that. So when it comes to time management, I think I have a lot of room for improvement
Hey, at least you know.
for
At
sure.
least you know it's a perfect time of the year to have that goal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Are you a big like reader? Do you consume content, and if so, like what kind? Podcast, books, internet stuff, YouTube videos, any of that?
Yeah, definitely. So podcasts, something that I listen to on a daily basis is Gadali Fenster. Do you know him?
No, who is that?
Yeah, he's like I like to call him Jewish Tony Robbins.
Sweet.
Yeah, he talks about the lessons he talks about the lessons that the Rebbe taught, that kind of started the whole Chabad movement. And so that's also been part of my spiritual journey, listening to him talk about Judaism in like a very practical, meaningful way. So definitely, check out Gadali Fenster, and he actually just wrote a book, so I've been reading through that. I read a lot of business books. I have an app called Blinkist.
Okay.
Blinkist is like you can take books and it'll summarize it in 15, 20 minutes. So that's one way that I like to consume information. Um, Fun fact, I'm 450 days in a row on Duolingo.
Whoa.
So I'm learning Spanish.
Let's go.
So I usually do that while I'm sitting in the cold plunge.
Okay.
Um, and I read the Austin Business Journal, and I read a little bit of the news, but I try to minimize the news and like just stick to things that I really need to know because
Yeah.
I think the news can be really draining.
Yeah. Totally.
Hmm.
If someone was graduating college and they came to you and they said, "Ben, I'm not sure what I should do right now. I'm interested in business. I don't know what's going on with AI. I don't know what's going on in the world." What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Man, I would tell them to start a podcast like what you just did because like what you're doing is like, so when I was in college and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, somebody told me to do 50 informational interviews. And so I knew that I wanted to be in business, but I didn't know what kind or what direction. And so I reached out and I networked around the community and, asked people for breakfast, lunch, coffee, whatever I could get my, hands on. And yeah, I ended up meeting these guys in commercial real estate, some guys that built the domain as an example. And I realized that like what they were doing was the direction I wanted to go. So I think podcasting is kind of like the modern day version of what I did back then. Is when you ask someone to come on the podcast, I'm guessing most people say yes. So it gives you access to maybe, people that you wouldn't normally have access to. So, and ask whatever questions you want to ask. So, whether anybody listens or not, it doesn't really matter because you get to, you know, have this conversation. So, I think right now, I think starting a podcast is really a smart thing to do. So good for you.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate that, and I didn't even know that was going to be your answer. So
Yeah,
I double appreciate it.
of
Um,
course.
well, man, thank you so much for coming on. I super appreciate you and your time. And if people want to find out more about you or Rooster Equity or Triple Net Leases, where can they find you? What's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so roosterequity.com. I don't know if you know why.
Dude,
Do you know why it's Rooster?
no, that was my. I was realizing I was like, I don't know why it's called Rooster. I have to ask.
So Kogut is my last name, Kogut.
Okay,
Kogut is a Polish word. In Polish, it means rooster.
Rooster.
I didn't feel like calling it Kogut Capital or something cheesy like that. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit different and hopefully memorable. It felt a little bit risky to go with Rooster Equity when I made the decision, but to be honest, like it's just been a blast. You know, we were serious, but also like we can have a little fun. We could throw some cock jokes in there. So like it's been great, and people seem to be really receptive to it. I sometimes wear like a some like silly shirts with like roosters all over it as kind of like part of the brand, and sometimes people know me as Rooster or Rooster Equity, so I'm just kind of leaning into that. If anybody wants to see or get on my investor list or see some of our deals, of course you can reach out to me at Ben at roosterequity.com. Um, I wrote a book also, which kind of talked about some of the lessons learned, and that's also at roosterequity.com. It's called Mission Matters, and it's a blend of what we just talked about. It's a blend of the lessons I've learned investing and raising over $100 million, blended with living a life of meaning. And so that you can download that ebook at roosterequity.com/book or ebook or something like that. And yeah, if anybody, you can find me on LinkedIn or on all the socials. I'm at Ben Kogut, and happy to connect with anybody if you want to talk triple net commercial real estate.
Amazing. Dude, when did you write a book? How did I not know that?
I did that in between starting the company, like when I left the other company and started this company. So I'm happy to send you a copy.
Dude, I love that. Most people play golf. You're just like, no, I'll just write a book.
Yeah, I traveled, I wrote a book, and then one last little thing. I feel like you might appreciate this. The Rebbe is buried at the Ohel, which is in Queens near New York City.
Hmm.
And so the day after my 41st birthday, I'm 43 now, I went to visit the Ohel, and that was a very spiritual experience. That was the point when I decided, because I was on like a sabbatical at that point. I was like, okay, sabbatical's over. Let's get to work. I created a whole vision for what I wanted to do with this company. I wrote down what it is that I want in a partner. And so now I'm engaged, by the way. So
Congratulations. That's
she's
awesome.
amazing. And, I would highly recommend anybody go, if you have a chance, go visit the OHEL.
What a way to end it. Woo!
Yeah.
You thought you were going to hear something about commercial real estate. Turns out, parting
You
words go
know,
to the Ohel.
go to the OHEL. Go say hi to the Rebbe for me, would you?
I've never been, but obviously I know quite a few people who have, and I've never heard anybody have it meh experience. Like everyone, and maybe it's self-selecting bias, like people who go are into it, and so, but yeah, I've only
Changed my
heard
life
really
for sure. Yeah.
more so than anything else spiritually.
It's one of the things that's changed my life. There's been a lot of things that have impacted me on this journey.
Yeah. Oof. Well, Ben, thank you so much again, man. I super appreciate you and your
Yes.
time, and looking forward to chatting again soon.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye, everybody.